Hello, thanks for tuning into the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Chamberlain Osoa, Channels Television here in Abuja. I'm joined by Vincent McCory from Voice of America in Washington.
Well, thanks. I'm Vincent McCory at the Voice of America. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Chamberlain Osoa in Abuja brings you that story.
The federal government of Nigeria has signed the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework for 2023 to 2027 at the UN House in Abuja, the nation's capital. The UN Resident Coordinator, Mr. Matthias Schmale, says the framework will help Nigeria achieve its developmental objectives of ensuring inclusiveness, sustainability, and accountability. It will also further assist in the government's plan to take 35 million Nigerians out of poverty by the year 2025. Our correspondent, Emperor Simon, reports.
The Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Agba, leads the federal government team for the signing of the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework 2023 to 2027. Among other things, the cooperation framework seeks to increase productivity and competitiveness in agriculture, improve access to job opportunities and quality education, as well as promote inclusiveness.
As it stands, we all need to accelerate our current efforts because Nigeria is unfortunately not on track in meeting the SDGs and the 2030 agenda. Some of this is beyond your control as a country. I don't need to mention COVID-19 and the ongoing war in the Ukraine. So we must quickly get down to the business of trying to accelerate what we do to not fall further behind.
The federal government believes the framework aligns with its National Development Plan of 2021 to 2025.
The cooperation framework, which is premised on the Sustainable Development Goals and the African Union 2063 Charter, will guide government and all stakeholders to work together in promoting sustainable and inclusive socioeconomic growth and development. As you may be aware, we are currently in the 5th and final year of the current United Nations Sustainable Development Partnership Framework. And with 2023 on the near horizon, it is time to look at the next stage of our development journey.
After the speeches, the two parties signed relevant papers. A national steering committee to oversee the implementation of the framework is also inaugurated. The cooperation framework is structured around 5 thematic areas of the Sustainable Development Goals, namely prosperity, planet, people, peace, and partnership. It comprises of 1 vision, 4 priority areas, 13 outcomes, and 37 outputs. The Minister of State for Budget and National Planning says measures have been put in place to track the implementation of the framework. From the UN House in Abuja, Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Joining us to discuss this is a development economist and professor of economics at the Lagos Business School, Professor Bongo Adi. Glad to have you on Africa 54.
Thank you very much, Chamberlain.
All right, now the cooperation framework seeks to increase productivity, competitiveness in agriculture, access to job opportunities, quality education, and inclusiveness. Do you think Nigeria is on track to meeting these goals?
That's very difficult to say because the statistics and the indicators that we are familiarizing ourselves with in recent times do not give us any confidence regarding our ability to meet the targets.
Right. How about this? The federal government believes the framework actually aligns with its National Development Plan of 2021 to 2025. Do you think this is the case?
Well, that is the case. I mean, if you look at the National Development Plan, they have poverty alleviation as one of the key targets. Even though someone like me has a problem, I have some problem with direct targeting of poverty. Our experience shows that all the efforts we've spent over the years, in targeting poverty directly, have yielded little or no results. We cannot continue to do the same thing and expect different results. If we really want to target poverty, the only thing to do is to, grow the economy. And then our economy has been plagued by so many problems, and the macroeconomic, uncertainty, unpredictability, and in fact, poor policy making are not least to be blamed.
All right. So just one more thing, Prof. As things stand now, we're in the final year and phase of the current UN Sustainable Development Partnership framework. What measures do you think can be put in place to ensure implementation of the 2023-2027 sustainable goals?
Well, the first thing is for government to actually wean itself free from all manner of, flip-flops when it comes to policy making. The major cause of, our macroeconomic challenges is this level of uncertainty, unpredictability, and, the government is also quick to change track. So if we can have some kind of commitment to certain policy actions, then perhaps we will begin to gain some bit of traction on that. But if things continue the way they are, I don't see us, making any progress. But again, hopefully, Nigeria is on the cusp of another election by May next year. Sure, we're going to have a new government. So I will suppose that the new government will understand the situation, the urgency of the matter, and then begin to tackle the issue headlong. The major problem we have is insecurity. So if insecurity can be handled effectively and efficiently, perhaps we begin to ramp up agricultural productivity. Now, I think that's going to be the major priority of government, to see how we can keep our talents at home. Because if you do not have that, then it means that we don't even have the capacity to produce the next generation of people that will take responsibility and man the system.
All right, Professor Bongo Adi, thank you for your time.
Thank you. You're welcome.
We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. After the break, South Africa apartheid reparations. Victims demand recompense from the government ahead of the ruling African National Congress Party conference that could bring leadership changes. Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Victims of South Africa's racially oppressive apartheid regime have been demanding reparations promised to them that they say were never delivered. Nearly 3 decades since the ruling African National Congress freed the country from apartheid, victims say the party has failed to uphold justice. Linda Giftash reports from Johannesburg, South Africa.
On the doorstep of South Africa's constitutional court, victims of the past apartheid regime are demanding justice. They say they're owed reparations that were promised to them during a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, or TRC, that was held in the late 90s to help the country heal. But more than 2 decades later, this group says they're still waiting for compensation.
I'm a soldier of a country. I fought for this democracy, that I'm not eating the fruits, even a single of the fruits of the country. Why? Because these people are on the government, they look for themselves. They not look at the people or the voters that they vote for them every time. That's why I'm here looking for a reparation.
The government paid out reparations of roughly $1,800 to most of the 22,000 individuals or surviving family members identified by the commission. But advocacy groups representing the protesters claim more people were deserving and are seeking a fight in the courts.
As of the time that COVID hit, it had about 104,000 members who probably qualified. And the TRC in its own report points out that many of these people have perfectly valid cases, but they didn't have the resources to do the research.
The Justice Ministry says every individual in the country was a victim to some extent of apartheid. The settlement was viewed by all sides as a first step towards healing in what has become the most economically divided countries in the world. The ministry says it has met the protesters on at least 4 occasions and is investigating a few claims that may still qualify for repayment.
But the insistence that they will hold the state to ransom because they are who they are, even that, by the way, is actually debatable. If you're not able to identify yourself as someone who appeared before the TRC Commission, how do we really know who you are, and how do we really know that your claim is legitimate?
The protesters are not alone in scrutinizing the government. Across the country, there are regular protests over failures to deliver basic services, from electricity to housing. It comes as the ruling African National Congress Party holds a conference that could see a shakeup in leadership. Current President Cyril Ramaphosa is favored to get a second term, but new younger candidates are also vying for top jobs. It bodes a welcome change for the party faithful who worry about its future amid corruption scandals and historically low support in recent local elections.
They are two very young, 3 at least, young people with great experience, corporate backgrounds, like I'm saying, some of them, who represent my generation. And I think it's exciting. If they are elected, I think it will usher in a completely new era for the ANC.
Whether the change will be enough for the ruling party to maintain its support, let alone regain support of members it's lost, is yet to be seen.
People must look around. People must get what they need. But the government of the ANC is not doing anything. That's why I leave the ANC.
The ANC conference is due to begin December 16th. Linda Giftash for VOA News, Johannesburg.
The federal government of Nigeria has reviewed plans to grant autonomy to universities in the country and introduce new programs to the education curriculum. The re-engineering of the curricula of Nigerian universities is to meet global standards and international best practices towards preparing Nigerian graduates for relevance in the future. Speaking at the 6th anniversary of the National Universities Commission in Abuja, the Executive Secretary of the NUC, Professor Abubakar Rashid, explains that the new core curriculum is born out of a comprehensive review of the benchmark minimum academic standards currently in use.
It's an occasion to celebrate the existence of the National Universities Commission after its establishment 60 years ago. The event offers an opportunity for key players to take stock of how far the nation's university education has fared from 5 universities 60 years ago to 220 in 2022.
As part of activities to mark the NUC at 60 celebrations, the new core curriculum and minimum academic standards for 17 disciplines and 238 academic programs will be unveiled today.
From lack of proper funding to the shortfall in the number of teaching professionals and incessant strikes, which have seen students lose over 50 months of academic work, the challenges confronting the education system continue to raise questions.
A sustainable tertiary education system is critical for a country and its citizens to participate in and benefit from the global knowledge economy. Yet, a thriving economy is also required to generate the wealth necessary to fund tertiary education sustainably.
Many countries are considering how to further attract female students, not just for academia, but for post-study careers, including in their local communities, and in so doing, helping to create a safer, fairer, and more democratic world.
The Secretary of the Government of the Federation makes a commitment that will at least bring some level of relief in terms of funding the huge needs in the university system.
That government alone cannot fund education in the country. It is therefore imperative that a sustainable model of funding university education must be developed. Such a model should take cognizance of the socio-economic diversity and competing expectations of the Nigerian populace and workforce.
Then, the formal presentation of the core curriculum minimum academic standard.
Thank you.
The new minimum re-engineering of the curricula of Nigerian universities is to meet global standards and international best practices towards preparing Nigerian graduates for relevance in the fourth industrial revolution economy.
Malawi is struggling to contain one of the worst cholera outbreaks in years. It has spread nationwide, killing more than 250 people and infecting more than 8,000. Authorities and aid groups have stepped up cholera vaccination and hygiene campaigns, as Lamik Messina reports from Blantyre, Malawi.
Malawi health authorities are struggling to curb a cholera outbreak that has spread to nearly all the country's 28 districts.
The cholera situation as of currently, we are receiving a lot of cases every day. Yeah. So the numbers have spiked. At the moment, we're getting about maybe 4 or 3 patients per day.
The situation is more critical in areas where residents use water from untreated sources like rivers, where bacteria can spread the diarrheal illness.
We used to have tap water in my area, but all the taps were vandalized. And also it's very hard to access water from boreholes because most of them are not working.
Health workers fear the increase in cases will overwhelm clinics.
Our camp, we've got about 4 beds in one room and 4 beds in the other room. And most of the times they're getting full when it is dry season, when the cholera season has not started. So we should expect more cases, and we might not have enough space for everyone when the rainy season starts.
Malawi started vaccinating against cholera in May with support from the World Health Organization, but community health workers say the uptake has been slow because many people shun the vaccine.
They ask, why are we bringing so many vaccines, fearing the vaccines might cause infertility. They say the vaccine is meant for children, without knowing anyone can receive it, depending on the gravity of an outbreak.
Malawi this month received nearly 3 million doses of cholera vaccine with support from the WHO, the Global Vaccine Alliance, and the UN Children's Fund, UNICEF. Health workers are educating communities on the need to take vaccine and how to sanitize water supplies to make them safe for drinking. Lamik Messina for VOA News, Blantyre, Malawi.
A Tunisian farmer, Mohamed Souaya, has established a farm, a collection of rare birds that belong mainly to tropical regions in the city of Al-Houaria. The love of agriculture and nature, Mohamed says, is his driving force. Although he has struggled to generate money from this type of farming due to drought and climate change, he has vowed to keep his passion alive.
13 years ago, Mohamed Souaya moved to the Tunisian city of Al-Houaria, having left his job in a travel agency to embark on a dream in agriculture. What he set up is the Wonder Farm, where he raises ornamental birds and rare animals not usually found in Tunisia, as well as growing species of tropical plants.
For the love of agriculture and nature, I came here and bought empty land that had nothing and was not prepared. I started every time to buy an animal and plants, until I realized that I own many types of animals. And from here, the idea came to launch this farm and share my passion with people who want to come and see something beautiful and rare.
He says it is a new and modern way of farming not found in Tunisia or North Africa.
It gathers all of the animals and plants you will not find in one place, such as the crested duck or the cayuga duck that has black eggs. We also have Australian ostriches. We have pheasants. We also have exciting types of pigeons. We have 35 types of chickens from all over the world, including the most expensive chicken in the world, ayam simani. The dish cost $1,500 in the United States of America.
Suaya periodically participates in international exhibitions of rare animals where he buys some birds or their eggs to try raising them on his farm. However, due to drought and climate change, this type of farming has struggled to generate money. To compensate, Soya has opened a special space for families and children looking for a chance to visit a tropical world within Tunisia's borders.
Well, it's been over a month since Tanzania's commercial capital, Dar es Salaam, put residents on water rations after dropping the city's main water source, the Ruvu River. Authorities say the water supply problem is beyond their control, but critics see it as failure to manage resources. Charles Kombe reports from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
39-year-old Dar es Salaam resident Halima Athman buys water from a private well for her daily use. For more than a month, city residents like her have been forced to buy water from commercial sellers due to a shortage of water supplied by the city.
Before we were buying 1 gallon for 500 shillings, but now it's 1,500 to 2,000. For us citizens with low income, that's a lot of money. I have a family, so how many gallons should I buy? It costs us a lot and we can't afford it.
At the end of October, authorities in Dar es Salaam declared a water shortage and began rationing in Tanzania's largest city, home to about 5 million people. Officials say, due to drier conditions, the water supply from the Ruvu River, the city's main water source, has dropped to about 300 million liters a day, while the city demands 450 million liters. Critics say Tanzania's authorities should have done more to prepare for the drought.
We have been blaming this on lack of rain. What about those countries where they don't receive rainfall for a long time? Countries like the United Arab Emirates or Sahara countries. It's the government that lacks priority in the water sector.
If not resolved soon, the water shortage could impact on Tanzania's economy. The National Bureau of Statistics says Dar es Salaam accounts for 80% of the country's industrial activity. But weather experts say an end to the shortage is in sight.
We are heading to December. We are expecting an increase in rainfall. Rain will help in various economic activities. People will harvest water for domestic use, and the water shortage will decline.
Meanwhile, Athumani cleans with the little water she has and hopes for rain and a sustainable water supply. Charles Kombe for VOA News, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania.
Well, and that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. Check it out. I'm Vincent McCory in Washington. Channels Television has our last word.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. Remember, channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I am Chamberlain. So thank you for watching. Goodbye.